Welcome inside episode 654 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. And last night, the Sens led in the first two goals and then scored 5 unanswered to beat the Washington Capitals on home ice.
And Ross, to break down that game from the TSN broadcast, it's recurring guest Cheryl Pounder.
Excited to chat with her, get some thoughts on the Sens defense and more. Plus, Tyler Boucher maintains his goal per game pace with the 67s. All of it's brought to you by BetOnline. More props, odds, and lines than ever before. Visit BetOnline, where the game starts. And now the show starts. This is the Locked On Senators podcast. Your team every day.
Your Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I'm Jake Sanderson, and you're listening to Locked On Senators podcast.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
Thank you for making Locked On Senators your first listen on this Friday, October 21st. The show is free and available on all platforms, including on YouTube, where the best way you can help the show grow is to like every video by clicking the thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. If you subscribe, you can get notifications, turn the bell on, and you'll know when shows like the postcast go live. Last night was an electric postcast after a 5-2 victory. I was so upset I couldn't make it, but Pillsy, I got some thoughts on that game. But first, I want to get what you're feeling now, almost 12 hours after the Sens came back, and now they've got 12 goals in 2 home games.
Ross, I'm feeling so good. I mean, we knew it. All the Senators need was just a little home cooking, some good crowds, and they were going to get things clicking. And that's exactly what happened. As you mentioned, 12 goals in 2 games. And last night was one heck of a hockey game. I mean, you had the back and forths. You had the power play. The Sens hit the post 4 different times. They were dominating in the last 2 periods, outshooting the Capitals 37-12. That was an incredible game, and now we were down 0-2 to start the season, back up at 500 at 2-2.
And the Arizona Coyotes are coming to town tomorrow. We'll end today's show with a little bit of a preview of that game coming up after the Coyotes lost 6-2 in Montreal. They're 1-3 to start the year, but Washington has 2-3. They were where the Sens are now going into this game. And what to you was the big difference maker to allow Ottawa to come back after those 2 goals on that 5-on-3 kill?
I thought the Sens did a really good job of kind of settling down after the first period and just not letting it get to them. Like, they stuck to their game plan. I thought a big part of it too, Ross, was we criticized that third line a bunch. I thought they might have been the best line last night. They were really clicking, especially for that third goal, the game breaker, the game-winning goal by Pinto. It involves all 3 of those guys. Joseph goes hard in for the forecheck, quickly over to Mott, and Mott doesn't waste any time, gets it out front to Pinto, and Pinto scores. And with a lot of these goals that we've seen, Ross, it really seems like the Sens, they're thinking one step ahead. Like, I feel like last year they would get the puck and be like, I'm not really sure what to do with it now. Do I shoot? Do I pass? Who's open? Etc. Now it seems like puck's on their stick and the plan is already in place, whether they're going to pass or shoot, and they're able to really keep the opponent's defense moving quickly, and they're able to execute those plans really nicely, and they've got some shooters now that can finish things off.
Dare I say the Ottawa Senators dominated that game? Like, they didn't just win that game. They dominated the Washington Capitals. The shots on goal tell the tale. 44-24. I've been trying to go back and find the last time the Ottawa Senators outshot their opponent by 20 or more and won the game, because they did it once last year.
It's in Ian Mendez's article if you're looking for it.
Of course it is. Why wouldn't it?
I've got it here if you want the quick stats.
Hey, stats guy.
Here we go, stats guy. So, as we mentioned, postcast, the last time there was a difference of, it was Arizona. But then, Ross, in DJ Smith's tenure, going back all the way to January 11, 2020, all the other 6 games were losses. So that was the first win in that stat category. Wow.
Absolutely love to see that for the Ottawa Senators. A big round of applause, and a big round of
Yeah.
applause as well for everyone who was in attendance last night. I believe it was about 14,000 was the announced attendance inside the CTC, but you could hear the noise on TV. Like, not only for the Zoom chants, but everything else. It was just a loud atmosphere. It felt like it. I'd imagine the arena was buzzing, and I couldn't believe the amount of people I saw on Twitter who were at the home opener and the second game.
Yeah.
I'm still recovering from my Swaymans, man. I had a few too many Swaymans the other night, and next thing you know, man, I can't get words out.
Yeah, definitely a few too many Swaymans on your end.
Happens to the best of us from time to time. But this was a dominant effort. I absolutely loved it. They scored on the power play twice, which we said was a key to victory. We did, pick both the locked lookout players, I should say, to score. And well, they did, unfortunately. Those were 2 goals in a span of 34 seconds midway through the first period. Were you nervous?
I was a little bit nervous because even though the Sens were dominating, they were hitting posts, they were getting close, and when you've got a guy like Alex Ovechkin who is a Sens killer, all it takes is one rush down the wing and a quick wrister, and things go south quickly. So the Sens were able to hold on, and I said it on the postcast, but it deserves to be echoed again. Big stick taps to Anton Forsberg. It is not easy to make big saves and keep your team in the game when you're so cold and you're not getting any shots, and then you have to make arguably save of the year so far for the Sens with that save on Johansson. So Anton Forsberg, although it's less shots than he's used to, he still played a solid game.
Yeah, I like that. And in the locker room, Brady Tkachuk singled out Drake Batherson as the guy to rock the chain. He scored twice in this game, and I was looking for that third point. Can you imagine if that hit back to back? We'd be so back with the Ottawa Senators. But Drake Batherson's first goal was assisted by Tkachuk and Alex DeBrincat on the power play, and his second one also on the power play, assisted by Thomas Chabot and Brady Tkachuk. I thought Chabot had probably his best game of the year. Not that he's playing at what he would probably tell you is his best hockey right now, but he was awesome last night. I really liked what I saw from him, especially, the decor was all shaken up, and we'll get into it more with Cheryl Pounder, but Jake Sanderson left this game for a while, had to get stitched up, so he only played 15:47. Get this, first time in his young career where he's played less than 20 minutes in a game, and it was not performance related. He just had to get his lip back put together. But Thomas Chabot playing over 25 minutes, an assist, 2 shots on goal, couple giveaways, but I thought he controlled the pace of play. What's really interesting to me here, though, is Eric Branstrom only played 11:54 in this game.
Yeah.
You think that was a coaching decision only, or maybe there's something else going on? Because he's been playing so well this year, it just seems strange to staple him to the bench.
Well, I think maybe that's a result of Thomas Chabot playing a little bit better, right? When Chabot plays a little bit better, DJ Smith has no problem giving him the extra ice time. So maybe that's a result of it. I don't think this was some sort of penalty to Brandstrom sitting him on the bench because he hasn't played good or anything like that. So I'm not concerned.
No. But then you look at Nick Holden, played 17. So you're like, okay, well, why? Tell me. I'm just looking for something to get mad at because otherwise this was a pretty cool performance. 64% in the dot pills. Like everything that this team was trying to do was clicking.
Yeah, it really seemed that way. And a big part of it, and I mentioned on the postcast, was all the power play and special team time kept Alexander Ovechkin off the ice and really kind of slowed down his momentum. And then when he finally did get some power play time of his own or 5-on-5 time, he was just flinging everything he could at the net, and he was missing the net left and right and high, and he wasn't able to find his groove. So as we know, it's important to keep Alexander Ovechkin in check. The Sens did that, and I think that was a big result of why they were able to get the dub.
All right. Well, you and Martian both did your Sens Central standouts on last night's postcast. We would love if you checked out that as your second listen of the day right after the pod, where we go live after each and every Senators game, and then you can catch that in your audio feed or on your YouTube the next day. I'm going to give you a couple as well, though, because there's too many good performances to only limit
lots.
to 4. So Pilsy last night had Tyler Mott and Anton Forsberg as his standouts. Martian had Drake Batherson and Brady Tkachuk. I'm going to start, though, with Shane Pinto. 6 for 9 in the face-off circle, scores a goal, 3 straight games with a goal, 4 shots. Like, this guy, whether he's playing 22 minutes or 12 minutes, played 14 last night. he just makes an impact on the game. And for him, this is only like his 20th career NHL game. It's super impressive what he's been able to do working up and down the lineup. So I got to give some stick taps to our boy, Shane Pinto. And then Alex DeBrincat scores his first as an Ottawa Senator. Goal and an assist, 5 shots on goal. Pilsy, the haters are mad who are saying that Alex DeBrincat is overhyped or maybe a bust. Unreal. Because that slow start that we're talking about with Alex DeBrincat, he's got 20 shots on goal in 4 games. And he's got 4 points, point per game guy.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I think, was it Shane Pinto? Someone was mentioning how DeBrincat was a really underrated passer. So it's nice to see when a guy that's a 40-plus goal scorer, a dominant sniper in this league, sure, he might not be getting goals, but he's not invisible out there. He's still getting shots. He's still making plays. He's still getting assists. So Alex DeBrincat, I'm still happy the Senators acquired him.
All right, coming up on the other side of the break, we'll touch on Tyler Boucher and his hot start. The 67s are 7-0, so it's a whole team is looking real nice. And then we'll touch on a weekend preview for Ottawa and Belleville. But first, we want to get to Cheryl Pounder, and on our way there, Pilsy, you've got a word from our friends at BetOnline.
Yes, betonline.net, the trusted online sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network. And Ross, as is typical for Pilsy's parlay of the day, I was oh so close, but close only counts in shotguns and hand grenades, not in parlays. The Sharks won in overtime. I had them losing. The Sens won, though. But the key is stay in the action, because on our other bets for the Senators and props and all those kinds of things, we hit pretty big, me, you, and Martian. It was a good night, and we hope you guys also bet on the Sens, because they got us a couple shekels. And at betonline.net, they have all the latest scores, news, updates, opinions, analysis, whatever you need. They got it. They have fun totals, player props, over, unders, game spreads, money line, puck line. They got it at betonline.net. And it's not just hockey. They got basketball, football, baseball, golf, boxing, UFC, all of it. They got it. So head to the website today or check it out on your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. Guys, it's betonline.net, where the game starts.
All right, let's get to our interview with Cheryl Pounder. All right, we now welcome a very, very special guest back to the show. It's a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, a 6-time world champion, and the newest superstar at TSN. No disrespect to Mark Mathot, but Cheryl Pounder joins us now. How are you doing today, Cheryl?
I'm doing great, but because of those comments, the next time I see Mathot, I'm going to have to elbow him on the panel again. I think he'll be elbowing me after those comments, but no, great. Doing great. Kids are at school, so, it's a nice feeling right now.
Oh, it's great. We loved seeing you on the broadcast these first 2 games on TSN, and how's it been getting back into the mix?
Yeah, it's been pretty incredible. I mean, I didn't have much time off through the summer because everything that got bumped into the summer, I was fortunate to be on. So I had the opportunity to watch firsthand Ridley Gregg at the World Junior Championships, and just had a great time with that. So really didn't feel like I got a whole lot of time off. But yeah, it's always great to be back on the panel, no matter who you're working with, and talking hockey. And of course, we've had some great games with the Senators, the last 2 in particular. I have to ask you guys a question. You were in the building on Tuesday. I don't know. I thought a lot of beverages were being consumed. Were there any left by the time the game was over?
Literally, no.
Yeah, the Sens literally ran out of draft beer. Ross personally apologized for that. And hey, we're just doing everything we can to pay for all the upcoming contracts that the Senators are going to have to.
Yeah, that would be a bonus every once in a while if you can get into a game and not work it, so you can kind of have some fun like that. And I've been known to be able to pound a few back. So, well, anyway, that's a whole other story.
Oh, no, it sounds like we're going to have to make this happen. Maybe a little VIP giveaway and have 4 seats in a row. Me, Pilsy, and we'll get a 4th in the mix. Leave a comment if you would like to enter this contest. No, all jokes aside, every time it's like 4 beers, you're like, $70. Like,
it is
for 9 years. But Timmy's signed for 9 years. We're just paying our part. That's all.
That's it. You're doing your part.
A little canvas. But this was an awesome way to start the season. Like, we knew the offense was upgraded, but 12 goals in the first 2 games. Cheryl, were you expecting the offense to click this quick? I know you talk so much about chemistry and getting things together. Like, Claude Giroux scores a goal his first shift on home ice.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. And when you watch the chemistry, starting to build amongst the lineup. And when I say build, I mean that's from line one, like right through to line four, and doing their part at different times within the game. But yeah, the potent offense that they can create, in particular off the rush. I talked a lot about it below the goal line yesterday. They just have the ability to finish, and you can see the energy and the pulse in their game. And when they're dictating the play, when they're playing with pace, it's pretty incredible to see them move the puck, and just the excitement around them. They're a young group, but they've got the veteran leadership of someone like Giroux now, and the way that they're just sort of executing. And really, for me, it's establishing presence and knowing how to finish. And that's been the big question in closeout games. And I think the last two have been positive, giving up leads, getting them back, being behind, and then finding a way to claw your way back into the game and still get the W. I think it's pretty impressive and a great start.
Cheryl, I want to get it from a player's perspective, because we were at the home opener, sellout crowd, over 100% capacity. The building was absolutely rocking. And you could tell that Brady Tkachuk, when asked about the crowd, he didn't just give kind of the canned answer like, yeah, we love the crowd, thanks for the passion, etc. Like, his face was lighting up. He was so excited. So give us your own personal kind of opinion on that. You've played in big games with big crowds. How much does that actually make a difference? Like, if you're down a couple goals and the crowd lifts you back up, what does that do to the players on the bench? Or are you guys talking about that? Are you feeling that? Give us your perspective on it.
Oh yeah. I mean, you have to feel it. I mean, we talked about in COVID how, when there weren't people in the buildings, how it was really important to physically engage someone like Brady Tkachuk to lay a hit, right? So to get yourself into that game and then get yourself ready to go, because you have to almost fire yourself up. You have to manipulate your own energy and manage it. And these particular games, it is unbelievable. I remember in Halifax, the World Championship in 2004, sold out venue, and we're in the dressing room. And while we're in the room, I still get chills to this very day. We're ready to go play the Americans, and the building was moving. Like, the building was moving with the energy that was in it. And so there you are, you're just about to get out for your warm up, and you could feel it. And it's incredible, because it doesn't matter who you are. When you get that perspective, when you get that energy, when you get that feeling, it kind of enters you. You can't help but feel it. And it's what you do with it, because you can get over emotional, or you can channel it in the right way. And so I think it's really important to recognize how you utilize it, when you utilize it, how you talk to yourself around it. And I, it's such a feeling. I mean, like I said, I still get the hair stand on end still, goosebumps, because I still remember the feeling. We didn't have, a ton of fans all the time. So when we did, and we played for Canada, it was absolutely incredible. And I really felt like it fueled us at different times.
And is that a time where you need the veterans in the room to kind of make sure everybody's even keeled? Like, I'm sure the Giroux, the Nick Holdens, those type of veteran presence, where on the ice you might be like, hey, they've lost a step, not so much Giroux, but maybe on the back end with Hamonic and Holden. But you need these veteran type guys for more in the locker room, kind of keeping guys even keel. Is that a real thing?
Yeah, I think it is. I think experience, when you can share experiences, and you're willing to be open-minded and listen to veteran experiences, players who have been it. I remember in Salt Lake City, before we got to the Olympic Winter Games, our veterans sat us all down. We hadn't won a game against the United States, sat us all down and said, this is what you can expect. And so until you live it, you process it, you learn how to be resilient within it, you need that shared information. We had a 2-page list, of potential things we may encounter and our response to them, because the veterans took the time to share what it would be like when we were there, because we were no longer tourists. We were there to do a job. And so I think it's really important that when you have those experiences, you really share them. And it's also important for the veterans to recognize that everyone is different. Some players play better when they're emotionally charged. Some play better when they're more even keel. Some play better, and so how do you play, and how do you perform at your best, and how do you get yourself into that mindset to be able to perform? So if you're Brady Tkachuk and you need that crowd to energize you and just fuel you to give that next hit, or at the right time, you do it. If you're someone who's a little bit more laid back, who needs to calm themselves down and really take a few breaths, those tools are really important as well, just to center yourself and get you back to what you just need to do. And maybe you need to drown out the crowd a little bit because it's overstimulating you, So I think there's all of these things. But no, there is nothing that can truly replace a respected veteran. And there is a difference. Someone who has, walked the walk and talked the talk, and you'll really listen to because you value what they have to say around it.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay. That's cool hearing about the veterans making game notes for you guys, because that's big. So you can be prepared. Check the game notes, bud. We all know that's a massive part of hockey, is knowing what you're going up against. And speaking of game notes, having two defensemen on the TSN panel in you and Mark Mott, I think Sens fans really appreciate that, because as we know, kind of the glaring weakness of the Ottawa Senators is this decor. So to have you two being able to break it down is so awesome. And I want to get into that right now, Cheryl, because we've seen some moving around with the decor. What are your thoughts on when DJ Smith decides to pair Brandstrom and Chabot together? Because I think it's fascinating that there's times in the game where that's the decision he likes to make. And I think sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't work out. They were on the ice on that 5-on-3 when they get scored on for the second goal there, or maybe it's the first one, but one of those goals. So how do you think a pair like that works? Like, how important is it? We always talk about the yin and yang defense pair, one shutdown, hard-nosed guy and one offensive guy. Can you have two offensive guys click?
Well, I think it depends on who it is. I think if it seems and showing that it works, and depending on particular situations, are you down a goal? Are you up a goal? These are all elements that you have to look at, because both players like to go, right? Chabot likes to get to the middle of the ice. He's going to dive down I think he's very gifted on the offensive blue line, knowing when to dive down. Brandstrom's the type of player who, when he activates through the middle, in particular transitions through the neutral zone, he moves on his own a lot of the time, right? Right through the middle of the ice. He gets entry on his own, and then what he does with it from there. So if you're looking from a defensive standpoint, at different times of the game, I think Brandstrom, his gift is his offense. It is, his exits through the middle of the ice when he's the one either distributing quickly or he's getting it and moving it through the middle. And when he defends with his feet and he doesn't try to get overly physical, I think he's more successful. But when I look at someone like Brandstrom, I want him to focus on his offense, not his defense. And I know that sounds kind of funny, but that's where he's good. And so the two aren't always complementary. But I think what's happening is you're seeing, you're just void in an area on the back end to be able to manipulate the pieces the way you actually may want. You see Zub, you've got Chabot. I mean, I obviously a huge fan of Zub. And then you've got Sanderson, who has walked into the NHL like he's been there for 3 or 4 years and just playing with a ton of confidence. So it's kind of finding the right partner for him as well. And so I think this is a big, big piece of the pie on the back end. And when everyone's playing at their best, it's like anything, it works. But sometimes you have to manipulate and make in-game changes and judgments off the hop. And, for Brandstrom, he's quick to a puck. So on a 5-on-3, that makes sense, but he doesn't have the leverage with a stick. So, there's question marks around that on a 5-on-3, whether you'd utilize him because of that as well.
Yeah, they were in a little bit of trouble, though, because it was two defensemen in the box, right? Sanderson got the trip.
Yep, they were in the box. Yep.
Over the glass. So they're kind of like, okay, let's look.
Okay, we're looking around here.
Yeah, minute and a half to kill off. I'm glad you brought up Jake Sanderson, because it kind of leads back to the veteran conversation, how important it is. But he's played 5 games. It may as well be 500. Do you think he really needs Travis Hamonic next to him, or is it almost time to experiment with him? Because I almost think he and Brandstrom could be a good pair together.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that he's showing, and again, it's such a small sample size, but I'm telling you, I would have been, the nerves coming into a big game for me when I was young. I didn't even play a shift in my final game at the World Championships because, the couple games before I was trying to be something I wasn't. And so I wasn't effective at all. I was making mistakes. And then, it's a tailspin. But for him, and Mark and I, it's interesting when you talk about this decor. We have a great guy, Puffy, who works the desk with us, and he takes all of the plays we mark and he puts them together and packs them together. Well, it's funny. So Mott was in Ottawa and we were on the panel in Toronto, and we kept marking the exact same clips.
Nice.
Right. And so a lot of them around Sanderson and the exits. And one of the things with him is his confidence and his poise with the puck. It is incredible His feet aren't going 100 miles an hour. There's no panic or tone of panic to him. I've been really impressed with his ability to escape. So he's got that great edge work so he can escape when he reads pressure. And then I talked about it last night a little bit in our post game. What he's doing really well, and I think not always the eye goes to it because we're looking at the big flashy play. He always adjusts back to the middle of the ice. So within his gap, he steers, and so he's trying to push to the outside. And there's more of a physical element to his game than I thought he had. So we're seeing him in front of the net, finding body position. So really, we're seeing him in all three zones being effective here. So, I don't think that Hamonic is his dead set partner at all.
I think it's good to have him start there just so you can ease in. But yeah, maybe we see things move around and that wouldn't be the worst. Speaking of things moving around, though, a lot of the talk is that for this team to really be a playoff contender, they need to add a piece on the back end. Now, 4 games is still a small sample size, but from what you've seen so far, do you have confidence that maybe the urgency to add a veteran right shot top 4 defenseman isn't that high? Like, what are your thoughts on if this decor can still make it through here?
Wait, veteran right shot defenseman, Cheryl.
Where are you going to? Yeah, I'm not coming out of retirement. No, just kidding. Yeah, the Mott type, which was totally me. Just be steady Eddie, stay at home, protect the middle, let your partner go, let them have some fun with the puck, and give it to them, right? And so that's hard to come by. And so if you don't have the right fit, I don't necessarily think it's now. And I'm not saying JBD and Lassie Thompson are ready by any stretch, but what I'm saying is that you have a core here. You have a lot of offense. So you're going to score goals, but defense creates offense. So what I do believe is that you need a little more team structure. If you're not going to get the right fit, I don't think you just go out and do it just because you think you need another depth or you want to push everyone into what you think is an appropriate spot if you don't think you're going to get the right player. I just don't think it's necessary. Obviously, you want the piece. You want a piece. You need the right piece to be able to really push down the stretch. But this team, if they can collectively identify their D zone structure, collectively, not just from 2D, the defense. I'm talking the 5-man unit, including the goalie, the 6-man unit. When they come across their own line, I think they've been a little bit better off of the rush. But once they're in zone, sometimes they get caught chasing. And so they have 2-3 on a puck, which opens up a player in the mid lane of the ice. So I think that's the stuff that they really have to garner if they're not going to get that piece. It has to be a collective effort in their own zone to be in the right spots and supporting very, very well. And one of those things is also being stronger in front of the net, right? You're seeing Forsberg makes those first saves, in particular the Boston game, and then the rebound was being collected and put in. So being tougher on the sticks, being harder on the bodies down low. And I think that, that will also shore up the D a little bit if they're a little more structured. And I don't know if, one-on-one necessarily chasing to the high is the answer, but I certainly think that for them, if they're more aware structurally in their own zone and their defensive posture, I think that, they can get good things. And we saw some transition off it yesterday, to be truthful. We saw some offense off of good sequences that we marked, but we never got there. We didn't have enough time in our panel to talk about. And Shane Pinto was one of the ones that I was kind of pointing out from that standpoint.
Yeah, well, the game winner against Toronto on Saturday was kind of both there, where 2 guys got crossed up at the top near the blue line, Batherson and Pinto and then they came down low, the shot comes, and then nobody's able to clear it in front of the net. So both those issues were glaring, and it cost them a game with less than 5 minutes left. But I think you hope that that's just kind of a young team coming into its own. Final question from me, Cheryl. We really appreciate your time and joining us, and your insight is very, very well received by all of our listeners. We always get great feedback every time we have you on. We appreciate your friend of the show territory, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
But my final question, you can take it any which way you want. Is there a player so far, and again, early stages, only 4 games in, who maybe you weren't expecting this much out of? Maybe we'll leave Sanderson to the side, a special case there, but a guy where he's really kind of come on your radar this year?
Oh,
Billsy wants you to say Tyler Mott so bad.
He had a great game last night, guys. I
Right?
mean, we spoke about him in our post game and just how hard he was on the puck. And that third line, I'm telling you, we spend a lot of time on the panel talking about that behind the scenes. you often want to share, the goals and break down the goals, but it's the details to the game of that third line that are going to be absolutely critical for this roster because they can contribute. Someone like Mott, the energy that he's providing, he's playing in, you've seen him on the PK, you've seen him at different times on the power play. But even yesterday, just getting available, using his body to drive the net lane, first on a puck, block shots at key times, all of those different elements. And when you have Pinto, who I've been very impressed with, and again, but that's not a shock. We've been talking about Pinto in particular last year. Obviously, I think he only had 5 games, but his ability to support down low. There was a play yesterday that defense turned to offense, which we had actually marked and liberoed and marked up, but we never got to it. His line to the net and his positioning off of the puck, the battle, was incredible. So in that second layer, when that puck popped, he just had it. And so everyone's always like, oh, the puck always finds him. No, it doesn't just find him. He is in the right spots because he anticipates and he knows the game, a 200-foot game. And then they went north. And so it was an actual perfect D-zone coverage sequence that led to the transition to them going north. And so I think if they can get better at that, that's where it's going to really help them because they're not going to play in their zone quite as much because it's going to pop and they're going to get it out. But that third line for me, I would say, has been, and Mott and Pinto have been 2 of the players that I've certainly really enjoyed. And of course, we know Zub is excellent. And I mean, I feel like he's starting to really even just his game's even maturing even more in terms of, just jumping in and not being afraid to dive in every once in a while when he sees the opening to go.
And Zub's English is improving too. That
Yes,
was so
it is,
awesome to
isn't
get
it?
to see that interview. I mean, and Ross and I were watching that together, and it's impossible not to smile at everything that guy says. He's just so funny.
So
Well,
I
sorry,
need
go ahead,
to-
guys.
I need to ask you this, Cheryl, because I'm in such a conundrum when I'm thinking about Zub's extension. He's
Yes.
earned a lot of money.
Yes.
He has to think like, I've got it pretty good here. The fans literally chant my name every single time I touch the puck. Why would he want to leave?
I don't think, why would you? And I mean, listen, there ain't that many, top pairing right defenders out there, guys. Like, look at what, we're talking about, who can play with Sanderson. And, I know Chikrin is a big conversation piece. He's a lefty, you're going to have to move him to the right. So there's all of these questions around, and you have a shutdown D. And we did something on Zub last night because we'd marked again, both Mott and I had marked these little tiny plays that you may not, because our eye goes to that.
Yep.
And it was just a stick steer. But it pushed the play. It pushed the play exactly where they wanted it, or it was a shutdown in the neutral zone and not even allowing the entry with speed. So forcing the dump and then the exit comes off of it, or taking a hit below the goal line. I mean, how important is it to take a hit so that next player in, if they're in the proper positioning, can jump on that puck? And you've got situations where you've got quick centers. And even if it's a Brandstrom coming over, right? We see that. That's where I like Brandstrom, right? I like him as that second player in to pick up the puck, to be able to get the exit, not the first one back, right? So it's interesting to watch. But with him, I mean, there's not many of him around, and there's a culture around this group. And I am sure you guys felt it on Tuesday. You guys you're in depth within the Senators, and you can feel it. A lot of these guys are growing up together in many ways. So they're going through it together. And that's a pretty amazing thing when you're on a team and you have a few leadership pieces there that can guide you, but that you're doing it together. You're that same age group, you're learning together. So you feel somewhat comfortable in terms of being confident. And the belief and the hope that you're going to do it together. And I really feel that this is a very optimistic group that believes in themselves. And when you hear Zub chants, I mean, he's got to be inside. Just it's got to be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. And we were talking about it, how when he touches the puck, like when he catches and shoots right away or passes it, they can't even get the whole chant out, like the Zuba. So it's like, Zub, and then it stops right away.
Gone.
It's so funny.
Yeah, there's going to be a time where he's going to go end to end, guys, and it's just going to be like, it's almost going to sound like a boo because it's going to be it's just going to continue on. It's going to be just long and steady.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Well, he scored 13 goals his last year in the KHL. There is offense in his game.
Yeah. Well, there is, and I think that's what meant by maturity, and just sort of getting your legs under you. He knows what he's got to do when he's playing with Shabbat. I mean, if you got another piece, or potentially down the road, could he play with Sanderson? There's all of these other questions. Brandstrom's been good this year, guys. Brandstrom's been very good and transporting the puck, and he's kind of playing, to me, I think it was, when was it? After I got cut. Yeah, we don't want to talk about that. But, you almost have that bleep it attitude. Like, you know what? Like, I got to just go play my game, man. Like, I just got to go play my game. Like, whatever. Like, let's just go play your game. Let the chips fall where they may, but let's just, like, no more fear. Just go play. And it seems like he's just, let's go.
Yeah.
And
right? Like, prove it.
Yeah. And sometimes it's how you liberate yourself. It's how you free yourself, because the toughest thing for any athlete is what's between the ears. It's not the skill set, clearly. It's just finding a way to utilize and get it out there and play your best. And for someone like Zub, the maturity in his game, you're starting to see that confidence to not just shut down, but all of a sudden jump down the wall. We saw the goal the other day. He stayed on the puck. Like, he stayed up there. He didn't take one whack at it and go like I would. If I got to retreat, I got to get back to the blue line. Like, he kept going. So, the second effort in the battle there, and you're seeing it with guys like Sanderson. I mean, him walking the blue line right now, I'm like, man, I would have dumped that in the corner if I had something deep, right? But he's confident, and you're going to make your mistakes with that. But with that, it's also, you're going to generate, and you're going to rally a group.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, final question for me, Cheryl. We've had a very defense-focused chat, as we always do, and we always appreciate your analysis. But I'll give you an opportunity. I'll open things up as wide zoom as you want here. What do you think is going to be the biggest storyline for this team this year? Whether it's off ice or on ice, what do you think is going to be the driving storyline for the Ottawa Senators?
I think the Ottawa Senators right now, I don't think we talk a lot about the top six. I think there's a lot of depth to this lineup. And to me, this 9 is, and you also have a fourth line that knows the role and is hard heavy. Kastelik, they're hard. They're hard on the puck.
Oh, yeah.
So for me, it is going to be that this is an electric forward group. This is a very electric forward group that can create, can generate, but it's not just 6. And I think we spend a lot of time talking about DeBrincat, which I thought he had an excellent game. What I liked about him in yesterday's game, and really up to this point, and you're seeing Giroux feeding him for a reason. That's veteran leadership right there, knowing that he just needs it, right? But he's making the right decisions with the puck. Like, he's around the net. He's just not putting it in, but he's dishing. He's making some beautiful passes. And for me, I hadn't had an opportunity to watch DeBrincat a lot, obviously living in Canada, covering what we cover. And I thought, oh, this guy's a trigger. Like, he's a trigger. And then now I'm like, man, he moves the puck well. Man, he distributes. Wow, he turned his toes and threaded the needle. And so he's not selfish, just trying to find the back of the net. He's trying to make the right play for the team. And that is a very telling thing for me. But when we look at this forward group, I think we're going to be talking depth. And that's something. And I think goaltending, Forsberg, he's got to hold down the fort here until Talbot gets back. And so I think it's going to be a big storyline, especially wanting to get off to a real strong start. Forsberg doing the job he needs to do. But there will be a lot of weight on his shoulders in order to be able to play, this first month of the season.
I can't believe they got Anton Forsberg off of waivers. This guy
I know,
is so good.
Like, incredible, right? And he looks calm and his feet are quiet and he's not scrambling. But he battles for the second shot. And even against the game against Boston, a lot of those, shot at because he made the first save. So I think, if you can get that goaltending, which you've gotten so far, and you can weather the storm, and you get Talbot back in terms of the workload, with this forward group. And hey, we may be talking the defense guys down the road and how they've proved us wrong in ways, to be able to manage. But I think a lot of that is reliant on the forward group and how they support their own zone as well.
Well, we're going to look forward to having that conversation with you, Cheryl. When are we going to see you next on TSN for a Sens broadcast?
Oh, you know what? I don't even have my calendar in front of me, guys, but it's not next week. I don't think it's next week.
Okay, well, you know what? People just have to get your analysis on Locked On Senators then. But no, we do always appreciate your visit, Cheryl. And we're already looking forward to the next one. Thanks so much for your time.
Awesome, guys. Have a great one.
Stick taps to Cheryl for joining us. Fantastic insight from her. Really appreciated. And Pilsy, she said at the end when we were off air that Saturday is a must-win game for your Ottawa Senators. 4 p.m. puck drop against the Arizona Coyotes.
Yeah, Cheryl is the best. I mean, we love chatting with her. Her energy is off the charts. Her analysis is great. I love when she brings insight from when she played. It's a great perspective. And her and Mott, like, I love them on the panel, Ross, because usually the panel of former players, it's either you get a grinder, you get a top offensive guy, or you get a backup goalie, right? That's usually the trio. So to get 2 defensemen on there brings a whole different angle to the show. So we can't thank Cheryl enough. We know you guys love having her on. We love having her on. So we'll try to make it a more regular thing.
Yes, absolutely. And getting her on right after she covered the first 2 games for TSN, the timing just worked out well. So we can't thank her enough. And the reason why she said it's a must win, and it makes sense. How many times did the Sens a team above them in the standings the last few years? You have to win the games against teams you should beat. Toronto Maple Leafs know all about that because they can't do it. They never have been able to. And look what it does to them in the playoffs. You need to beat these teams. I'm going to follow her footsteps. I'm saying it's a must-win game on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm going to be right there because if you lose this game, now you're no longer at 500, you're below 500. And those are points that they need to be a schedule win. Like, you got to look at that and be like, we're getting 2 points here.
Yeah, and they're in their third game of the Eastern Canada swing that they do, right? They already played Toronto, already played Montreal. Like, you're getting them in the third game. Now, get this. Anton Forsberg was given the morning off yesterday, just for, well, you know why. And it was Andre Tourigny's kid who filled in. I think we have to go to the league about this, Pilsy. He's getting a pre-scout for his dad who's coaching Arizona.
Yeah, true. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, wow. You know what? I think it worked out. I'm not too worried about the scouting. Check the game notes. It's okay.
We're very excited to do the postcast tomorrow. I'm going to be involved. Pilsy will be there, so we'll get some good vibes. Martian has boots on the ground at the CTC, so we might get him on for a quick standout as he's walking out of the game, depending on how it goes. But please subscribe to the Locked On Senators podcast. It goes a long way to help the show grow. Leave a comment as well. Give me one positive and one negative so far that you've noticed through the first 4 games. I think I said 5 when I was talking about Jake Sanderson. It just feels like he's played 500. So please forgive me. However, that to say, with the subscriptions, it goes a long way. And another way you can really help the show grow is on Apple Podcasts. You can write a review. We don't need an exam or an essay, just like one word even. But the 5-star review goes a long way in helping the show grow. So we appreciate that. Hey, speaking of Andre Tourigny, former head coach of the 67s, they look good. 7-0. Tyler Boucher, how are you? Goal per game. That's all right.
Yeah, Tyler Boucher. And Ross, this does not come to surprise to me, you, and Martian, because we've been championing him for a long time. And now that he has a proper start to the season, he knows he's going to be in the O this whole time. He's feeling good. He's healthy. It's going to be the Tyler Boucher coming out party.
Yes, 100%. And I mean, I'm not ready to, start getting belligerent on Twitter, for lack of a better term. Belligerent, is that good enough for word of the day?
Word of the day.
Belligerent. And that's how I'm going to be if Tyler Boucher hits his projected totals right now, on pace for almost 50 goals and almost 100 points. But again, it is early. That leads me into maybe the funniest prospect of the year, Stephen Halliday, good buddy. We had him on the show. Big tennis guy, if you follow him on Instagram. Loves tennis. And what do you do in tennis, Pilsy? You dish the ball back and forth, and he's been dishing pucks on the ice. I would almost say he's a disher.
Yeah, I mean, if I could go back, I would also say that he is a disher. I mean, honestly, at this point, he's just doing this to spite me. Like, it's an empty net breakaway, and he'll drop past it to get the apple because he just wants to let me know, yeah, actually passing I consider a big part of my game. I do believe I am, in fact, a disher.
I love it. Stephen Halliday had 3 assists in a 9-2 win last night for the Ohio State. He leads OSU in scoring with 8 points in 7 games. And yes, 7 of them are assists. Thank you to our boy at Sens Prospects for that nugget. He also gave us another good nugget, and that is Leevi Merilainen.
Whoa.
Right when I was out,
Yeah.
he pulled me back in. He's grabbed the starter's crease for Karpat after getting pulled in, I believe, his first game. He's now 5-1 with a .935 save percentage. Those are the types of numbers he was putting up in junior Finnish leagues.
Yeah, for real. And now I was never out on Leevi, Ross.
I was close.
You weren't too confident in there, but now he's really making that decision to stay over in Finland rather than the OHL. It's looking like a smart move because the reason I didn't like it is because I was like, well, it doesn't look like he's going to be starting a lot. I would rather having starting games, even if it's in lesser competition. If you can get those starts and dominate, get shutouts in the Finnish league, that's very impressive. So we love seeing that from our guy Leevi.
Yes, absolutely. From Leevi Merilainen. So hopefully he can keep that up. Belleville, they lost in overtime to Rochester. They couldn't exercise their demons after Rochester knocked them out of the playoffs last year. What are you hoping to see as they go into another weekend?
Well, I mean, they're still have a good start to their season, right? They beat Laval twice, so they're 2-1 now, right? I don't think they've played since.
Yeah, they're going up against the champs tonight. The Springfield Falcons is up.
Yeah,
next.
So that'll be, man. You go up against the team that knocked you out of the playoffs, and you go up against the champions. Those are big measuring stick games. So I'm hoping we see a big game from Belleville here, and probably it'll be Antoine Bibeau that'll get the start, as Mando had the start last game. So this will be interesting, and as long as they can keep it close in this game, I'll be happy, because it's not do or die time or anything like that.
Did I call them the Springfield Falcons?
Yeah, you did. But it's some kind of bird.
Yeah, but the Springfield Falcons have been defunct since 2016. Now it's the Springfield Thunderbirds.
Yes, the Thunderbirds.
Yes, no James Neal, though, who was playoff MVP pretty much for them last year. But Belleville's got them tonight and tomorrow on home ice. So if you're in the Bay of Quinte area, check them out at home and see the future of the Ottawa Senators. Still no update on Ridley Gregg. So hopefully we get one of those.
Yeah.
If not today, then soon after. And it's just, you want to see that guy getting reps after, the 20-game WHL season with the COVID shortening. And then, it sucks with the injuries at the World Juniors. And then after making the comeback and then now having to be out of the lineup once again. But we're looking forward to getting into all this much more on Monday's Locked On Senators. But hope you enjoyed. Cheryl Pounder, we've got the postcast coming up tomorrow following the Ottawa Senators hosting the Arizona Coyotes. For more, you can follow the show on Twitter at Sens Central, on Instagram, lockedon.senators, and please subscribe on your favorite, your least favorite. Subscribe on all the podcast platforms and on YouTube. Goes a long way to help us. Pillsy, any final thoughts on today's show?
Go Sens, go!
All right, nice and easy. Go Sens, go. A must-win game coming up against the Arizona Coyotes. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast. Your team every day.